Hey guys, here we are gonna do round three of Vasyl Lomachenko versus Nicholas Walters. Real quick though, I wanted to go over some things that I saw in round two, and there's some examples of it in round one as well. But Walters starts picking up on it on round two, and I missed it, so I kind of wanted to go back and point it out, and why some of the adjustments that Walters was making that I missed, and why he was able to counter him in some shots and start landing some punches. A lot of the stuff is just so subtle when you're looking for so many different things. And Lomachenko does so many different things that I'm not even mostly paying attention to Walters. But I want to go back and show this because it'll be really important for round three film study and understanding game plans and adjustments. So right here, you see Lomachenko, when he does this little dip, he just dips straight out to the side, and then Walters changes guard, right? I know I went over that before, but right here, he changes levels first, then dips out to the right, and Walters counters him with the right hand, because he's kind of noticed a pattern by this point that Lomachenko sets up most of his offense off of the level change into the shift over, versus this one. And that's why he was able to time him. He also gets to figure that out a little bit later. I think it's around the 1 minute mark. I'm not exactly sure. We're going to look for it though, because it's important. Yeah, right here. So Walter starts seeing him dip to the outside like that and starts jabbing at him when he does, because he knows that that's just Lomachenko staying busy, looking for angles and stuff, trying to time his jab. But he right there again, throwing another one. He goes to turn out, and then Walters catches him again, and he's starting to time that little movement of Lomachenko, and that's going to be really important for round three. So I just wanted to point that stuff out before we got started. So here we go into round three then. And it starts out great. It's really interesting. I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but he gives a little level change right there, and Walters responds. And now right there, he kind of moves to the outside, and Walters doesn't respond at all. And you kind of get the feeling that he's starting to pick up on the different feints. Right there, he tries to catch him in between the feint and time him with the right hand. But Lomachenko doesn't even go all the way through the whole motion, so good for him. Right there. So Lomachenko's now seeing that Walters knows the timing, and he's trying to dip to the right like that to get Walters to shoot a punch and time it, so that he can pivot in and let up the offense that he's shown that he's been able to do off of Walters' punches. So soon after Walters showing that, Lomachenko was already testing it. He's like, okay, let me see what you got. The confidence, the display of he's just a master, and he knows exactly what he wants to do at almost all points. Right there, double jab, occupying his guard. I'm just going to play this whole sequence, and then we'll break it down after. But all of that feinting and stuff to land that one hand. So we're going to do it in slow-mo. It's a double jab to Walters' gloves, right? And then the outside feint. And he knows that Walters wants to counter him here, right? So he's waiting for him, getting a good look at him. He does the dip down, right? Changes levels, and it gets Walters to change his guard, because Walters recognizes that that's when offense is coming, or that's when he counters his jab if he lets his jab go, and he'll pivot in. But Lomachenko lets his left hand go when he sees the guard change, and it kind of tells me that he doesn't want Walters to change guards. And it shows that also he now knows that Walters knows that little tell. So he gives him a feint, Another feint, jab, jab, and doesn't change levels, just on the second jab, shoots in with the superior foot position, dominant foot position, and then lets go of his left hand. Just brilliant boxing from Lomachenko. Really smart, really well thought out. And now check this out. I didn't point it out in round 1 or 2, but what Lomachenko is worried about is Walters coming up after he controls him, right? So he misses the punch, and Walters bends down below the waist. And then Lomachenko misses the punch, but he wants to control him. He can't just let the guy pop up, and then start letting offense go. But also, it's illegal to bend down past the waist, right? So Walters is not supposed to be doing that. But more importantly, because they're southpaws, or he's a southpaw, he doesn't want Walters to come up and headbutt him, because he would be in a great position if Lomachenko didn't control him. He might come up and just headbutt him straight up with the back of his head, and even that could be a knockout punch. Anyway, moving on. Shows him the level change, boom, and then throws the right hand. But Walters knows what's up. Check this out. This is really good. He throws his jab, right? Walters counters it, takes dominant foot position, and then Lomachenko sticks his left hand out while he's moving away, and he's pointing it at Walters' right glove so that he can control it and parry it if he decides to throw it. But also, look at how Lomachenko's guard comes up immediately. As soon as he realizes he's not the aggressor of this particular micro-engagement, his guard comes up. Just brilliant defense. And one more thing that I want to point out, one of the big reasons that I'm doing this film study on Lomachenko is the looming fight with Mikey Garcia. And I might get a little bit of hate for this, but in my opinion, I love watching Mikey Garcia fight. I love boxing. I just love boxing. I love watching it. I don't really care who wins what fight. That's not important to me. I just want to watch a good fight. With that said, I think Mikey Garcia is... I'll say Nicholas Walters is a poor man's Mikey Garcia. I think that they're very similar in their abilities, the way that they fight, the control that they kind of lack against their opponents. Mikey Garcia has shown that he's hittable. He doesn't take a lot. He doesn't take punishment for sure. But he doesn't have the greatest defense. But mostly, he has this amazing ability to pick off other fighters when they're setting up their offense. And he's able to find holes and find spots to land punches, much like Walters. Walters is very good at doing that. But notice in these exchanges, Lomachenko is not there to be hit. He was able. In that instance right there, he'd have been able to control Walters' right hand and very likely counter him. And we'll see some examples of this too. But just like when Danny Jacobs was trying to fight Triple G, the counters that he was throwing, like if he was fighting like a regular fighter, like in the gym probably when he was going and practicing those moves, fighting off of Golovkin's jab, it was probably extremely effective against his regular sparring partners. But Golovkin just had such a better defense than them, such a responsible defense. There were so few holes. Counterpunching against these guys it's a tall order. And that also comes back to the other point is you notice that this jab right there, it's not a lazy jab, right? It's a soft jab. It's a controlling jab. It's a probing jab. And if this was a hard jab that Lomachenko threw and expected to land on Walters, and he committed to it, he might have stepped forward into like a dominant foot position and eaten the jab, the counter jab back, and the right hand. But because he's probing, it makes it very difficult for a counterpuncher to mount an offense. And that's a lot of what I see Mikey Garcia doing in his fights is aggressive counterpunching. And that's like a very popular professional style. I'll say for like American fighters. Anyway, I just wanted to point that out real quick. So we can move on now. Right there. Baits the jab, takes dominant foot position, but he doesn't even land anything off of it, and Walters just misses it. Just brilliant boxing from Lomachenko there. Did Walters land a punch there? No, but again, noticing that when Lomachenko dips to the outside without changing levels first, that nothing's going to come, and he feels confident throwing punches and backing Lomachenko up. So Lomachenko just moves. Very smart. There was something I wanted to talk about here. Oh, yeah. It was right here. So right here, you see Walters attempting to lead, right, after this little exchange, chasing him a little bit. Throwing punches, being a little more less accepting of Lomachenko's desire to lead. And Lomachenko just sticks his jab out right there, another jab, just to control Walters while he's coming in. And it kind of stops him in his tracks. Now he has to respect that these punches are coming, or that he's setting punches up, or whatever it is that he's doing. And he has to slow down. That's another wrinkle to Lomachenko's jab, not just controlling his opponent's guard, or controlling his vision, pinning his gloves to his head to set up his offense using that probing jab, but using it as a defensive tool to slow Walters down. Just brilliant boxing. Again, shooting to the outside, and at this point, I can only expect that Lomachenko is setting him up when he dips like that. I don't think anything, noteworthy happens there, but as you see Walters leading, Lomachenko doesn't want him to lead, so he just moves out of the way. Again, here he is, just shooting punches at him to slow him down, to stop him from leading, probing for offense. Right there, ready. And look how wide he does this one, too, the double jab. I think here he's baiting the left hook, trying to see if he can get Walters to throw it, but he doesn't. But that's really interesting. So remember what I said about Walters having figured out that, and notice how in that exchange that I just pointed out, there were no level changes. He just jabs, double jabs, and moves to the outside. But it doesn't bait anything from Walters. However, here we go. Lomachenko changes levels, and boom, and then shows him the left hand. Walters keeps his guard up for the left hand and then throws a body shot. I think it lands kind of in the hip. Not exactly a legal blow, but you can't really see Lomachenko's belly button. It doesn't matter. It's not about the legality of the punch. It's the strategy that Lomachenko, or that Walters is employing. And he's noticed that the level change is more indicative of him attempting to set up offense than just shooting for dominant foot position. So he's making an adjustment. Really good stuff from Walters, even though it's not a legal punch, actually. Just really smart. And Lomachenko doesn't know where to go from there, so he kind of resets. Again, just shooting a left hand so that he can stop Walters from just running in on him. Really smart. Let me take a look at my notes real quick. Oh, okay. So just probing for offense again, right? Another thing that he's doing so well, and the reason why fighters like Mikey Garcia would have a hard time fighting him, because he's not committing to these punches. So it's hard to counter them, because when you counter them, are you countering like a probing counter to bait the counter from Lomachenko so that you can counter his counter? Like, what level are you operating on that you're going to catch him? because if you just commit to a counter on probed offense, he's just going to counter you. So there's this whole like crazy mind game going on. That was really good. And, you know, Walters kind of telegraphs it. You see him kind of dipping down to his right again, and catches Lomachenko with an uppercut. I tell you, I watched it like 30 times, and you can't get a sense of how cleanly it lands. It looks actually like right there, I think I got some pretty good frames, and it looks like it lands pretty cleanly. Let's take a look at it again. Yeah, it looks like it lands pretty cleanly. Lomachenko still winds up in superior foot position, but Walters tries smothering him, and nothing happens. But and that's really interesting too. Notice like 95% of all the jabs that Lomachenko has thrown this round or through the fight so far have just been at Walters' lead hand, and now he throws, you know, maybe like the 5th jab. It might even be just the 2nd jab through the guard, and I don't know if it lands, but it's different. Right there, the straight left should be open for Lomachenko, but as you can see, he throws it on the outside of Walters' guard, trying to stop him, I guess, from throwing his right hand, just in case, because he knows also that when he dips out to the right, let's see, is this going to work? When he dips out to the right, Walters is trying to counter him with the right hand, so kind of taking those angles and throwing the right hand, it can stop him from throwing his right hand and keep his hands at home. Just another brilliant way that he's controlling Walters throughout the course of the fight. Again, right there, he dips. Walters throws a jab, and Lomachenko goes to control the right hand of Walters and stop him from throwing it. Again, another example of his amazing defense. Even though he's so active, he has taken a couple punches, but he's so active. His defense is still so active as well. Just brilliant. We'll watch that in its entirety. But he dips to the side, right? And he remembers that Walters is still setting up offense off of that dip. And then he smothers this left hook, and Walters just puts him in himself into a horrible position, and eats a body shot. And then I think that kind of grazes him, but it doesn't matter. It's just, you know, the beauty of the whole technique, right? Just brilliant boxing. He's setting everything up, you know, baiting. And I think that what he was doing right there was baiting Walters into throwing a punch so he could make that pivot. And it just worked out perfectly that it wound up being a left hook that only hit him in his arm anyway. Just great high-level stuff from Lomachenko. Just throwing punches, keeping him busy. And notice like so many of these punches are probing shots. Again, dips to the outside, then slips the jab, and gets his guard up. And he's just ready for all of these opportunities that Walters thinks he has to throw. Oh man, that was good. This is really good. So good. We're gonna watch that in slow-mo. He goes to bait him right there. He goes to bait him to get right there by dipping over there. Catches the jab, gets a good look at what Walters is doing, and then shoots to the outside and throws a great body shot. But look at how he, even off of the parry, he pushes it away, tries to see if there's anything coming back from it, all in the split second, and throws a right hand. Just brilliant boxing from Lomachenko. Just taking this guy to school. Again, right there, brilliant. He jabs. Walters tries to counter. He's seen that he's not getting the jab counter, so he tries a right hand. Lomachenko rolls it, and it hits him on the shoulder. Then, as Walters is falling in, because this is the only way that he knows how to kind of control somebody. He doesn't have a lot of controlling skills. So like Golovkin would throw that right hand, and then he would put his right hand on to Lomachenko to hold him still so that he could throw a left hand after. Walters doesn't understand that level of fighting yet, so he goes to kind of body up with him and put his whole body on him and make complete contact with him. But as you see, his left hand comes up, and Lomachenko thinks it's a left hand and is able to get his guard up before it would get there, and then is able to throw his own counter. Again, just brilliant boxing from Lomachenko, showing you just exactly how difficult it is to actually counterpunch him and how difficult of a fight it's going to be for Mikey Garcia should they actually fight. Let's go back here and we'll watch it again. Counter, moves back, thinks the left hand's coming, but nothing comes, and is able to shoot a counter. Just brilliant boxing. Again, right there. He dips down, and Walters is dipping down again. Brings his head up, and then I think that is the move that Lomachenko has been trying to set up throughout the course of the fight by getting Walters to dip to his right to avoid the straight left hand, right? Because he's not in position to be hit by it, and Lomachenko finally gets it and is able to pivot over there. He doesn't land any offense, but it's the first time that he's been able to use such an athletic move and get it to kind of work. But just great stuff from Lomachenko. Let's get it back into regular speed. And we'll watch that whole thing in regular speed too. Catch him, left hand to the body. Just such prowess. And because he doesn't commit to his shots, he's never out of position. He never pushes himself out of position or off balance. Just really great stuff. Oh, man. Oh, so good. Off of Walter's punch. Oh, my God. Okay, so, sorry. Shoots the jab, and he shoots it not at Walter's guard, shoots it on his face, takes dominant position. Doesn't even throw a punch, though. But this is the part that's really exciting. I'm going to get back into it real quick. Let me slow it down. This is the part that's really exciting. I was telling you earlier. So Walters jabs, right? Lomachenko gets his glove out, actually catches Walter's straight right hand to parry it, and throws his own right hand left hook. Just brilliant boxing. So we'll do it in frame by frame. He parries the jab, and then he parries the right hand with the same hand, because he knows that Walters has been trying to set this up and is able to land. That's not the cleanest punch, but it's the technique, because all of that happens in a split second. You just can't even see it. Parry, left hand, right hand. Just some brilliant boxing from Lomachenko. Walters isn't doing literally anything that Lomachenko isn't letting him do. We're just gonna breeze through this last round. This is already almost 25 minutes. Again, he knows that when he double jabs like that, he's not really setting up all that much offense. And I think the first one kind of lands, but it's not important. And then what does Lomachenko do right after? He says, okay, do that again. Let's see. And he already has a counter for it. But we don't get to see what it is because Walters is like, okay, just kidding. I don't want to do that again, whatever it is. Again, he doesn't dip down or anything. He just lets a straight left hand go. Taking dominant foot position, pivoting around him. Walters does something really good right there in getting his arm around Lomachenko and not letting him pivot around him to set up offense and grabbing him. But look at this. This is like what a class act he is. In spite of the, I'll say the tomfoolery he exhibited when fighting Sosa, while they're like tangled up right now, these are not like legal punches. right? They're like, this is a clinch. This is not inside fighting, though. This is not real boxing. But Walters is like, okay, you're kind of taught to throw punches from here. And what does Lomachenko do? He says, hey, look at that. Is that what you want? Is this what you want? And kind of taps him and gives him a look like, hey, fight fair, you know? And Walters is like, okay, yeah, you're right. Because he's dominating him, you know, in every sense of the word. Let's see. Feints him, moves to the outside a little bit. And again, fighting off of that, like, you know, outside foot, the lead dominance. That punch kind of like comes around his back and nothing lands. But this is inside fighting, right? See how they're bodied up, but they both have their own hands. Like of course they have their own hands, but their hands are not tangled or wrapped around their body. And he looks for offense, you know, to throw while they're close. Again, dips down, and Walters doesn't move at all, and Lomachenko just lets a punch go. Boom. Controls his head after. We'll put it in slow-mo real quick. Dips down. Hits him. What a great shot. Controls his head when he dips down like that. He's not supposed to be dipping down, but Lomachenko learned from the Solito fight that he doesn't want to get head-butted. And he's able to just pivot and shoot out, and Lomachenko just has complete control of this fight. Another landslide round. And even though Walters is making some great adjustments, you know, he's showing that he's a smart fighter. He's not some guy's fool. But his strategy to counter Lomachenko is just not working, because Lomachenko doesn't have to commit to his offense until he's able to put himself into a superior position and then land punches. He's got an immaculate defense that he's demonstrated time and time again, because Walters has had great opportunities to counter, you know, following the jab back, right? Usually when someone is able to do that, like Mayweather, when he's able to follow the jab back, he lands a huge right hand off the pull counter. But Walters isn't able to do any of that, because Lomachenko knows when to use his punches to control and to set up his offense, or to put your opponent into a position where they think they're going to set up offense, and when to actually let go of his punches. He knows when to commit. And that's a huge boon for Mikey Garcia to overcome, because he's not going to be able to find anybody to spar that's going to be able to emulate probably even a quarter of the skills that Lomachenko has shown during these 3 rounds. Is it going to be a good fight? Yeah, because Mikey Garcia is a good fighter. He's fun to watch. He's smart. He picks his shots really well. He's not wild and crazy, you know. He's always, you know, in form. He's always in control and composed. And that makes for a really fun fight to watch. But I gotta give it to Lomachenko. I think that he's kind of gonna smash Mikey Garcia, and it'll kind of be his real coming out party, you know, because obviously beating Gary Russell Jr. in that dominant fashion wasn't enough. Beating Nicholas Walters in this dominant fashion wasn't enough, and people just think he's a hype job. But Gary Russell Jr. is a legit fighter. He's a very good fighter. He's not like, if it weren't for Lomachenko, Gary Russell Jr. would be considered, for all intents and purposes, the elite fighter of the division. But Lomachenko is here. So anyway, that was the breakdown of this round. I haven't even looked at rounds 4, 5, 6, and 7 for purposes of film study, and I might not get a video out tomorrow doing the 4th round, because you really got to watch all of the rounds with each new round so you can find adjustments, and it does take a lot of work and a lot of time. But I will do my best to get them out, and then let's see in the comments what you guys want to see next. Golovkin Lemieux, I got some votes for that. I think that would be a fantastic breakdown. I was thinking about doing Mikey Garcia versus Juan Manuel Lopez, even though Lopez is not even a fifth of the fighter, or a 20th of the fighter that Lomachenko is. And I watched the fight last night, and it was not very exciting or fun to watch because Lopez is so... I don't like using the term shot, but anyway, or it's either those two fights, or I could do Ward and Kovalev 1 with the Ward Kovalev coming up, the number 2, the second fight coming up. But let me know what you guys want to see on our breakdowns. I have a couple of those fights on my computer already, ready to go. But God, am I dreading doing Ward Kovalev. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, or whatever. Yeah, thanks, guys.